How's it going, guys? We're back for episode 7 of the Popcorn Square podcast. This episode is titled Marvelous, and we're going to be talking about the Marvels and the MCU. You know, the Marvels, a lot of bad press going into that movie. The movie didn't perform too well. Bri Larson, a big spectacle in that movie, not going very well. I haven't seen it. I know I'm going to ask my other co-hosts if they've seen it, if they have any input on it. I believe we've all seen Captain Marvel, and we had our opinions about that film. Neff here, I'll give my opinion about it, and then I'll pass it off to Kage and Buttons. Captain Marvel, not a bad film. There's some things that could have been worked. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't a bad film, and it was a film that actually did very well. The Marvels, can't say the same about that. Haven't seen it. I'll probably see it, so I can't actually rate it. That'd be the educated thing to do, of course. But yes, I'll pass this off to Kage on maybe why he thinks this movie didn't perform so well. If it was a writing issue, a timing issue, maybe the bad press with Bri Larson, other things that had an impact on that. Go ahead, Kage.
Yeah, so I will be honest. I have not seen Marvels. I think I will see it. Just again, I'm a pretty open-minded person when it comes to shows and film. If I've seen the first one, I'll see the second one, especially if I like. Now, if the first one was garbage and I just didn't like it, then no, I won't. But I did enjoy Captain Marvel. It was good for what it was. Samuel L. Jackson, hell yeah, that was funny as hell. Him with the cat.
Right.
So yeah, I'll see it eventually. But in terms of my opinion of why I think it did bad, I think it's a myriad of things. Can't ignore it. Yeah, the Bri Larson drama definitely plays a huge factor in that. The writer's strike, I'm sure, didn't help any.
Yeah.
I'm sure that didn't help a lot of things, actually, this year. That went on for quite a while, and it's going to affect stuff going into 2024, the new year. Happy New Year, film industry. But, yeah, I think, honestly, the Bri Larson thing could be definitely a big part of it. I think the other big part of it, too, is the oversaturation of Marvel films. People are kind of getting burnt out of the superhero genre. It's just too much. I mean, when did first thing that came to my mind was Shazam.
Yep.
That's another. Now that one I liked. Part
the
one,
first one, right?
Part one, part two, I actually enjoyed.
Interesting.
I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think it was bad. You know,
I think it was. Yeah.
It didn't blow my doors off, but I was just like, okay,
decent film.
I liked it.
Watchable.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
You know what you're getting when you go
You know,
to
exactly. That's exactly my point. You know what you're getting. But I just feel like, and I think another thing that could be hurting Marvel too, Miss Marvel, is she was the big person in Infinity War.
Towards the
end. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we saw you do something great. Don't care anymore.
Interesting.
You've done your great thing. From an audience perspective, you've done your great thing. You've helped defeat Thanos. It's like, I don't care what you need to show me anymore. If you wanted to show me more of what she should have done, maybe you should have shown that before Infinity War. I feel like they kind of shoehorned her in and said, okay, here's a movie right before Infinity War comes out, that just so audiences know who she is, and for those that don't know.
Right.
But you already showed one movie. It's already out. Like, Iron Man was well established. He had 3 movies under his belt.
Interesting.
By the time Infinity War came out, so you knew who that was. You knew what you were getting.
Right. The audience had a connection.
Right. But Bri Larson had one movie to show us, at least as far as Marvel's concerned, what she can do, what she can bring to the table, as far as the superhero genre is concerned. But that time has passed. Infinity War is over.
The climax.
The climax is over. I don't care anymore. What do you have to show me?
Interesting. Buttons, how do you feel about that specific
Okay, so
topic?
what I'll tell you in terms of her character is, okay, so I've seen some other work that Bri Larson has done, and I go into a movie not thinking about what, you know, actors have in terms of opinions. Like, they're allowed to have their opinions just as we're allowed to have our opinions. Do I think she shot herself, you know, career-wise when she went and made the statements that she made? I think it definitely didn't help. And I think that that controversy that she created kind of followed her into this character, into this role. However, to me, honestly, and I don't know if this was an acting choice or if this was a writing choice for her character, but to me, I watched the first movie and I was like, okay, you have a relatable character, and I actually liked Carol Danvers. I thought she was an interesting character. I enjoyed it.
Right.
Now, when she goes through her whole alien transformation, she had lost her memory, didn't remember who she used to be as an American and all this other fun stuff. You kind of see her shift from like this likable character with emotions and empathy to this character where she's all like more robotic and more smug. And that would be the word that I would choose for her character. She ends up becoming smug in the later movies, like not so much in Captain Marvel, but when she shows up in other Infinity War and all this other stuff, her character seems very like, I'm too busy with you guys, like I can't help you, I'm too busy, you guys need to figure it out, I gotta go save the rest of the universe, you guys are supposed to be here taking care of this world and you guys effed it up. Now I will say this, and this is just my perspective on her character as a whole. Again, I don't really ever see her show enough range of emotion and empathy and things like that. Like, they kind of make it seem like she's, like, I'm this big superhero, I'm going to save the whole world kind of thing. And then you're like, okay, but you don't really seem to have emotion behind it. You don't really seem to be engaged with what's going on in these different parts of the movies that she's in. I haven't seen the new one. Maybe that's different. Maybe she shows some range of emotion. And for me, if you're going to get connected to a character, you have to see their flaws, you have to see their vulnerability, you have to see the reasoning behind why they do the things they do. You have to be able to connect with them on some kind of emotional level. And I don't think you were able to do that with her character after Infinity, or after Captain Marvel. Like, it just seemed like she was kind of stagnant.
Almost like a shell.
Yeah.
Interesting. I got a question for both of you guys. You brought up a good point, Buttons. Do you think that was how it was written, or do you think that's Bri Larson's interpretation of the character?
Now, I will say there was some drama about, when she was trying to promote this movie, she didn't want to smile. And I'm like, I don't care. She did it for her own reasons, and she had her own, that to me, I guess, was more of her interpretation of the character. And that's fine, if that's how you take your character, and the director's okay with it and everybody's on board, then guess what? If everybody doesn't like your way that you interpret the character, then nobody's going to want to go see your movie. And I don't know if that's what it had to do. I'm not going to say she didn't smile in the movie, because I saw her smile in the movies plenty of times. So it's not like, it wasn't like she didn't ever smile. She just didn't want to do it for like the promo posters and stuff like that, which is perfectly fine. Most superheroes, you don't see them with a big old smile on the face when they're doing their superhero pose. So that's perfectly fine and acceptable. But I feel, me personally, you already had that character of being like a smug character, and that was Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if she was trying to copy his, or if she was just saying, oh, my character's super serious all the time, so they're not going to be all jokes and giggles and smiles, or if it was just her as an actress making a choice and saying, this is how I'm going to drive the character, and people didn't like it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Those are some good points there. I got the numbers on the box office. We're all about the numbers here and what the movie brought in and what it cost to make the movie. So for the production budget, it was $274 million, just shy of $275 million. And the box office, is $205 million. So it's not going to meet its production budget. And as we know, this is a major loss on Disney's.
Just broke even. Didn't really.
Right. They didn't even break even.
No, that's not breaking even. They would need at least probably 700, 800 million. 800 million to really break even. But just a terrible flop, and it's like the bad press did have an effect on it. But what do you guys think that Disney should do moving into the future? I know we kind of pondered these ideas around that maybe they should limit how many shows and movies they're putting out simultaneously throughout the year. I think the limit should be around 5 or 6, but have some really good solid projects. I've also thrown out the idea that as far as the MCU, like a lot of the shows, and then Star Wars as well, because Disney owns those IPs, that they should have a dedicated team of 50 to 60 people that work on every single show. At least shows. Movies, a little more play there, but as far as the shows go, let's get a 50 to 60 person dedicated team that works on all these things, right? Because you want to have consistency. I can't tell you how many times I've had discussions with other people where, you know, oh, I love the Obi-Wan series, but Boba Fett wasn't good. Or I like this one, but I didn't like this one. And I believe you're seeing that because there's a revolving door of creatives. And also, you're having a lot of the executives getting involved as well, kind of meddling. But I think we do need to have a dedicated team on these projects so we can have just more consistency and quality projects. If you're going to flood the market, let's have it be quality. Because if you're flooding the market with bad product, it's not going to help you, and I think that's starting to rear its ugly head
over quantity
towards Disney right now. Let's talk about Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3, we know in rumor, right, that Bob Iger and Ryan Reynolds are kind of hitting heads right now on that third act. Apparently, Act 1 and 2 are filmed. They're filming Act 3. They're not complete with it. They're just having some issues behind the scenes on how they're going to move forward. I've heard that Ryan Reynolds has also been fired off some future projects that they were going to have with the new MCU, as far as like the X-Men franchise and stuff like that, and tying that in with Deadpool to kind of meld everything in. So I just think it's very interesting. We know Deadpool's a big staple in the Marvel Universe at this point in time. I feel like it's one of the best products that Disney has put out with the Marvel name on it. And it's just like they're shooting themselves in the foot once again when you have the CEO hitting heads with the main actor on a successful project. I feel like, you know, if there's an issue with Deadpool 3 when it actually does come out, it's going to get large pushback from the community of people that are fans of Marvel and fans of the Deadpool series, because people do like the series and they don't want to see it mucked over, right, for lack of another term. So what do you guys think about that as far as Deadpool 3, the stuff going on with Disney and Bob Iger? Pass this off to Kage and then Buttons to follow up.
Well, all I got to say is Marvel does not have a lot going on for 2024. Correct. And they really need to be very, very careful and treat Deadpool 3 like their baby.
Right.
Because this, I feel like, I don't know if it's fair to say at this point, this can make or break the studio at this point, because they're not doing good. They're not doing good. And right now, a lot of people really enjoyed, myself included, enjoyed Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2, more so 1, at least for me. But all the fourth wall breaks, the jokes of Hugh Jackman and, you know, Wolverine, I'm like, come on, I gotta see, I want to see this movie, you know, just for that aspect alone. And I really hope I'm hopeful that they can pull it together and really end the trilogy on a high note. I think they need this. They really need this.
Especially because it's the only movie that Disney/Marvel is putting out.
Right. Well, Madam Web.
That's
Sony.
Oh,
yeah.
My bad.
But yeah.
Yeah, we did mention, you know, in previous conversation that Madam Web was coming out, and Sony is still trying to, you know, and again we talk about the content that's out there. Sony's trying to still rake in some money off of the superhero movies, and that's where Madam Web comes in, because they made a ton of money off of Spider-Man, so they're like, let's keep it rolling because we still own rights.
Correct.
To this, so we're going to throw out Madam Web. I don't. There is a very strong comparison, which a lot of people make with, you know, strong female cast-led movies, especially in superhero movies. So we're going to make that comparison now, and it will be very interesting when Madam Web comes out to see how we did. Going back to the Ghostbusters reboot that they did with the all-female cast, that just did horribly. The audience hated it across the board. I did watch the movie. I knew what it was going in, and you know what? I got laughs out of it, but I will say it is not on par. It is not in the same league as the original movies. It just isn't.
Right.
I'm sorry. I enjoyed the movie for what it was, but no, it was not a huge quality movie in my opinion, compared to the originals. Now, when we're talking about Marvel and that, I'm going to be interested with the Marvels. Again, a very strong female-oriented cast. Captain Marvel did very well, even with the drama around Brie Larson, because that did happen before that first movie was released, and they still did $1 billion on that. Now this movie completely tanked, and so you sit there and you say, well, is it the audience is just fed up with superhero movies, or do they not like the way the casting choices? Maybe the TV show influenced it,
right?
Because Disney Plus came out with Miss
Marvel.
Mm-hmm. And that was the introduction that they had. Well, technically she was introduced in Quantum Mania, the actress that plays
Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel, right? So we're trying to figure out, well, is she just an unlikable character? I haven't watched the show. I watched Quantum Mania. I thought she was pretty cute, the little girl. I thought she was a good actress. Her character was interesting. Maybe the show was trash, and so people were like, well, if I didn't like the show, I'm not going to like the movie, and I'm not going to go see it. Maybe that was the reason why it did so poorly. Maybe it was because Brie Larson is still out there, making comments and getting people disinterested in the show. Maybe it's just because, like Kage had brought up before, that, we've seen her flex her muscles and we're over her. We don't care anymore about her character. But
that's a good point.
I think that, it'll be very interesting to see how Madam Web performs in comparison, because then you could sit there and say, okay, we know, studios will then have an additional reason why not to provide a all-female led superhero movie, because we're like, oh, we didn't like it here, we didn't like it here, and we didn't like it here, so now we know, like, the people are not interested in this.
Yeah, I have a theory that Sony's either trying to throw Disney a bone, or Disney's nudging them to help them out, because they're putting out a lot of Spider-Man based projects this year, more than usual, at least like 4 Spider-Man projects, starting out with Madam Web. But yeah, interesting. We talked about this before as well, as far as Deadpool goes. Hopefully they get things figured out. We know that this film is not done being filmed. It's not even in post-production. I believed that the original release date was sometime in May, but apparently it's July. So I don't know if it's actually been pushed back, and there hasn't been a major PR statement on that, but I believed it was a May release. But
end of 2023 is when they said it was getting pushed.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So yeah, very interesting there. But I thought that made sense. The fact that they have not finished the 3rd act of this film, you have the CEO and, like I said, Ryan Reynolds are not getting along together. They're cutting budgets. Time is becoming of the essence, and they still haven't done any proper promotion for this film. So the July release date makes 100% sense now, but very interesting. As far as Brie Larson, guys, what do you guys think she should maybe focus on in the future, maybe to get back into the spotlight again? Should she focus on shows? Should she try to do movies, but maybe something not on a large scale so people can't criticize her up front? What do you think? I think she should probably focus on maybe some good shows, like some Netflix series, some stuff like that. Maybe some more serious roles that actually emphasize her acting ability, because she does have acting ability, but when you're doing superhero movies, that's not really a role where you can just flex your muscles as far as your range and acting. You could do that with some superheroes, but not all the superheroes, and I don't think you can do it with Captain Marvel so much. Kage, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think when an actor has a public issue where they can risk getting canceled, some people tweet things, whatever, worse than others. But I feel like in terms of Brie Larson, I feel like it would be in her best interest to kind of step away from the big Hollywood movies and focus more on shows, because there's a lot of shows out there that are just banger content, okay? And I think if she just focuses on that, maybe focuses on movies for the streaming devices, subscription services like Netflix, Max, whatever, I feel like that would be good, and kind of work her way up again. Star in some really good shows, star in some really good movies, and then once you get your name out there and get yourself reestablished, then shoot for the big movies. I think that would be in her best interest. Good.
Buttons, you have any feelings about that, opinions?
Yeah, so I've known Brie Larson in different shows and movies for years. She was in quite a few like teenage movies and that when she was younger, playing mostly supporting roles, and then she started getting some heavy hitting lead roles. Now I think that she kind of got ahead of herself in the sense of you know, thinking that she could just say whatever without any consequences or do whatever she wanted. And I will say that there's been actors and actresses over the years that they've been labeled as difficult to work with. And I feel like Bri Larson kind of falls into that category as difficult to work with. And it's not to say that these actors and actresses, their career is gone and ruined forever. But with her, I think we're going to see that for her career. She's going to have to back off a little bit, and then she'll make her comeback. But some names I'll throw out there, you know, Christian Bale, Hugh Grant is one of them.
Megan Fox.
We had Edward Norton.
Katherine Heigl.
Yeah, Katherine Heigl. So, I mean, a lot of these actors and actresses, they've been labeled as such. They get, you know, their name dragged through the mud for a little while, and then, you know, their PR or their agent or whoever kind of tells them, hey, back off a little bit. And then they find like maybe a passion project or something that they do in the meantime. And then they start getting, you know, studios interested again.
Right, they get some traction.
Right, they get some traction kind of like outside. And they, you know, and Bri Larson, she's had some other roles recently. She was in Fast 10. So, I mean, it's not like she's completely dropped off and Marvel was the only thing she was doing. She was doing some other projects. But I do think it's hurt her career that she hasn't been able to get as many roles as she probably would have wanted. And maybe it was a personal choice. We don't really know for sure. But we definitely know that she hasn't been as attached to as many things as she used to.
Right.
So I don't know if that's, you know, personal choice or if that's like a agent or somebody advising her to pull back a little bit.
Interesting. No, you have another thought there?
The only other thing that I'll say really with her is, yes, I agree that, you know, she can do some TV shows or, like I said, maybe find a passion project. I think she's a great actress. I think she has good range. I think that, you know, she just needs to
stay out of the media a bit.
Stay out of the media. Like, I mean, more than anything, you know, we live in this cancel culture world now. It is very important for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, politician, you know, a sports person, you know, it doesn't, you know, a baseball player or athlete or whatever, right? It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody is included.
Susceptible, yeah.
Kage mentioned, you know, Will Smith. That was a big one he pulled up as far as being canceled, you know, over what he did. He was he still is a big name, but his career has been dragged through the mud because of what he did. That moment, Yeah. And so I feel like with Bri Larson, she's kind of sitting there at that precipice where it's like, hey, you can keep pushing the boundaries and hoping that, you know, everybody just accepts that's your personality and lets you get away with it, or that somebody you're going to offend, you know, because that's what we're worried about, who you're going to offend, and then they're going to be like, nope, we can't work, you're radioactive, we can't touch, you know, we can't assign you on to anything for a while. Interesting,
good points there. Last question I'm going to leave with you guys. I'll let both of you guys answer this on top of myself. What do we think Disney should do moving forward? I touched on this a little bit. Maybe limit the amount of content that they're putting out. I don't think it's a bad thing to focus on movies because I feel like that's where you get the most viewers. I don't know if I believe the subscriber numbers and the viewer numbers that we see coming from these big entertainment, basically institutions at this point, because they can do anything to manipulate numbers to make it look like the perception is, oh, we're getting viewers or subscribers are great. You know what I mean? I feel like with the movies, though, how about we do more movies at Marvel? Of course, I don't mean flood the market with movies, but focus more on movies, but bring down those budgets. Strong quality, good writing, as I touched on, having dedicated teams to projects that actually care about the lore. Who knows if Disney's going to do that? We've seen how they've said, hey, we're going to put someone on this story or this film, and then the person comes out and a PR statement says, I didn't watch any cartoons when I grew up. I don't care about the comics. And it's just like, you can't really do that, especially if you're trying to appeal to a core fan base that does care about the lore. So what do you think? You think they should focus on shows but limit the amount of shows they put out, or do you think they should focus on movies but limit the amount of movies they put out?
I'm more leaning towards shows, leaning more towards shows. Just stay there, because, like you just mentioned, the oversaturation. I feel like when you're oversaturating the market, the answer isn't keep doing it. You know what I mean? And even if you lessen the amount of movies you do, people are still going to say, oh, we just saw a Marvel movie 2 months ago. You know what I mean? So I think it would be just in their best interest to just scale it back. Just focus on shows for now. And when those ratings start coming in, then you can make a movie based on the show. You know what I mean? Just kind of slowly work your way back up to it.
Makes sense. Buttons?
I believe that as far as scaling back goes, I think what they should be doing is, like Neff mentioned, find a good group of writers, let them figure out a good, even if they're going to try and relaunch something similar to the build that they had for the Marvel Universe up to Infinity War and Endgame, everybody needs to be on the same page. The executives need to stay out of it. I don't want to watch some political battle take place across a multiverse universe of multiple writers and directors who all have their own agenda that they want to try and push into their movies. I think the biggest thing that's hurting them right now is they've established these characters. The characters are aging out, or they're asking for more money. And unfortunately, I think the audience is already disengaged. Find those hidden gem actors, actresses, give them good writing, and let the characters build off of that.
Agreed.
Makes sense.
Whether it's a movie or a TV show, that doesn't matter to me. I want quality content. Find me that, and then I'll be re-engaged.
And just to add on to that, I think ultimately that's the thing we all agree on as far as Disney is concerned, is quality over quantity. You can still come out with a movie once a year, twice a year, and still be amazing. And you don't need to worry about hiring all these AAA actors. You can hire small, no-name actors and still have a fantastic story.
Exactly.
Because an actor is only as good as the writing that they are given.
Good point.
They are only as good as the director they have. But like you said, Buttons, if you have executives saying, we want money, and we're gonna pump special effects in it because people like flashy things and flashy colors and explosions,
or we're gonna get a name on it,
or we're gonna throw a name on it, know what I mean?
And that'll bring people in.
That'll bring people in.
Doesn't always work.
You got to think more. You got to come back down to earth, and you got to look at the fan base. What do the fans want to see? It's not about what you want to see, Mr. Executive. It's about what the fans want to see.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's really not hard to figure out what the fans want to see. Go on Reddit. There's millions of forums up there. You want to know what people want? Just look.
It's so easy to get information now. It's so surprising that they don't utilize it. You don't have to sit
in a boardroom with a bunch of six-figure executives decide what people want. If you want to know what the people want, ask them.
Correct.
Go online. The truth is out there.
Correct. Good point.
I had to say that.
On that note, guys, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Popcorn Square podcast. Once again, listeners, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to us. Please like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell for notifications, and please join us on the next episode of the Popcorn Square podcast. Be safe.
Safe.